always love reading books that make me feel like I'm really part of the story. And when I close the book down, it's like I'm like physically being pulled out of the world. The Blade itself is a book that gave me that feeling. Hi everyone, my name is Freda. My friends call me Penguin, and I talk about books because I love to yap. Anywho, so recently I finished The Blade itself, which is the first book in the First Law series. It was written by Joe Abercrombie, and I loved it. I loved it because, as a first book, it's a great book to set the stage for the next part and the story altogether. So it takes place in this fictional world where we have the north, we have the south, we have this Gurkish lands. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not. Then we have the Badlands and, so on and so forth. And there are these different nations that are fighting over, power. It talks about these very different characters from all of these places and how their personalities are shaped. The book does not talk about their backstories completely, just a little bit to give you context into why they are the way that they are, and just giving you enough to make you wanting more. So the story starts out with Logan Longfingers, who is coming from the north, and he's fighting these creatures who killed his family. And then he's going towards the south. Not south. He meets this magician guy. Apparently, he's like very, very old, but nobody believes that he could be centuries old. He could be one of the founders of the big cities. Then we have this character. I forgot his name. See, this happens to me. I forget the character's name. So, anyways, just call him X. And like he's this very handsome man, and he has his whole life in front of him, and he's like very excited and very how you're hot and you're privileged, so you have this certain cockiness that he has that. And then we have this other character, West, and he rose the ranks. He came from nothing and he became this person. So he has this different perspective of life. And then we have his sister Artie. Artie's like, this free spirit, and she comes off as, somebody who's like, doesn't care about anything, but she has a very, very strong personality that we later find out. And all of these characters, they're very interesting and they're very interesting to read about. But one character takes it all for me, and that is Glokta. So Glokta is this person who had his whole life figured out. He was so talented. He was belonging from a good family, and everybody knew he's going to be somebody big. But then he was a prisoner of war and he was tortured to a point that it did not just leave him mental scars, it altered him physically. And it's like, I've talked about this before as well. Like, what if Batman wasn't conventionally pretty and whatever happened to him left him with a physical deformity? How would we treat him then? Like, whatever was going on in his mind, if it was like out in the open, we could see it when we looked at him, how would we treat him? So that question is kind of answered with Glokta and how he perceives himself and how he's like, has no reason to continue living every day, but he does so. So, anyways, yes. So the best part about this book is that, it all comes together in the end. So the book starts off with these different characters in different places. And like as we progress in the book, it's like taking us towards, all of them coming together for a singular mission. Now, one of the things that I liked about this book was it had some, um, you know, um, influence from the Muslim world as well. So they had the Turkish land and they had this ruler and the names. We haven't had the book doesn't deal with a lot of details into it. So far we know the lands, the name of the lands and the name of the rulers and everything. So that and apparently that is the enemy that we're going to be fighting. Now so far I'm really excited about reading it because I really like when, books, especially fantasy books, take inspiration from this. Dune is a very good example of that. But Dune was set in, like, a very long time ago. So we can argue on the lines of cultural appropriation, but we should also be mindful of the fact that the time when it was written, people weren't aware of a lot of things. So, people are evolving as well. Anyways, coming back to the point. So, I'm excited to read how Joe Abercrombie is going to, incorporate that entire part of culture into his book. But I'm also excited because, a part of me is like feeling like maybe there's going to be like a plot twist of sorts, and he's, the people that we think are actually the bad ones might not be the bad ones. So yes, and the thing that I really loved about this book was I could actually figure out the sounds. Like, it wasn't just imagining the scenery. It was so well written that I could also, think of the sounds. Now, the book did get a bit boring in the middle, but, all the parts about Glockner just made it worth it. So, if ever since any chapter where I was feeling like, oh, mm, but then the Glockner chapter would come and I was like, yes, yes, you know. So, I'm really excited to read the next parts. The funny thing is, I started reading it because I got Red Country like 10 years ago. And I got Red Country only because I loved the cover. And yes, I do judge books by their cover. Anyway, so I got Red Country, and then when I got it, I realized that, oh, there's a whole series I need to read before I get to this book. So it only took me 10 years to get to this point, but here we are. And thank you for hearing me yap. Um, like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me your thoughts. If you've read it, let me know what you think. If there's any book you want me to review, let me know about that as well. And yeah.